I used to have this Michigan State hat. For some reason, I really liked Michigan State. Really good basketball team. I didn't really like any other sports, though I was a fan of Mike D'Antoni in the football program. I never really had any ties to Michigan State, but I used to like somebody who used to be a really big Michigan State fan, Michael Moore. And Michael Moore was kind of a person who led me down the rabbit hole of Marxism when I was in college. You know, I watched all the films. Especially profound was Bowling for Columbine and Fahrenheit 9/11. And I was, like I said in the last video, you know, young, dumb, full of cum kind of thing. I did not really understand a lot of these concepts. I didn't really understand the philosophical, what's the word? Ontology of Marxism, where it comes from, what do these ideas actually mean for humanity, whether they're good or bad. And so, being a big Michael Moore fan, I liked Michigan State. Okay. As you can see, I'm repping my Oregon Ducks, and I've changed my opinion on how I view Michael Moore and how I view Marxism. I'll explain why. This time I got a little bit different setting. This is Leavenworth, Washington. Kind of have a German theme. It's kind of a cool spot. I'll obviously be sharing quite a few videos. We have to do a lot of cuts because there's a lot of people walking and talking. But basically, when I was in college, obviously Marxism is a very infamous topic in political theory and political science. They don't really talk about it in depth until you get to the higher levels, and even then they don't really discuss it. But my major is actually in history, and they discuss it extensively. In fact, it's actually a very major lens, if you will, of evaluating history. And it was a lens that I evaluated my own history, because it kind of makes sense if you think about it, because it's all about class conflict. There's always the have and the have-nots, and there's always somebody getting fucked over, basically. There's always like a boot on someone's neck, or that's how I used to think. and it's as I said before, I just came out of religion. I was an atheist, and I was kind of clinging to something real that I could base reality. Marxism gives you a pretty good little ideology in a way. It explains why there are poor people. It explains why there are rich people. And it explains how one day everything will be better. You know, whether it happens naturally or whether it happens through revolution. And I was very idealistic about that. I was more of the organic Marxist rather than Viva la Revolution kind of Marxist. But even that didn't really make much sense to me, because even Marx always assumed that you kind of needed a little bit of a push in the right direction. You kind of needed, first of all, it always needed to happen in a highly industrialized country. Well, the places where they tried it were not highly industrialized. Therefore, it wasn't real Marxist, right? Well, the problem is, in places that were extremely highly industrialized, something different happened. It's called the middle class happened. They were people who were not necessarily the working class, and they weren't necessarily the ruling class. They were in between. They had money, but they weren't really begging for money either. They were doing okay, you know. And that's kind of a problem. It shows that there's a little bit of holes in Marx's original thinking. And there's holes in his original thinking, and even more than just that, then at some point you have to wonder if it's worth looking at all. Is Marxism relevant in the modern day with the middle class and with technological advancements actually making people depend on major corporations even more than they did 200 years ago? Way more. People will proudly wear corporations' logos on their shirts. Some companies are so big they don't need to advertise. Nobody really cares. The opposite effect happened is capitalists, in a lot of respects, almost became a good guy. And I mean, once you get into neo-Marxism, they actually try and infiltrate the corporations, which doesn't make any sense anymore. So I started thinking, how is it even Marxism anymore? Modern day Marxists claim to be all about the working class. What even is the working class anymore? It's you know, a long time ago it was the person who put value into a product. It was the person who made your shoes or made whatever you wanted, right? But now there's so much automation, the working class is almost robots. Do we have to care about them? And it just makes me, you know, when I was younger, I was very idealistic. I thought, oh well, eventually we'll all be equal, and you know, the proletariat will rise and everybody will be happy, sing Kumbaya together. But I mean, the other problem I had was human nature, human behavior, I should say, not necessarily human nature, kind of goes against that a little bit. You know, there's people aren't on the same page morally, and let alone political goals. I mean, it's not a conspiracy that there is two major political ideologies, right and left, and even people within those realms don't agree. And to assume that at some point everybody is going to agree is just ridiculous. And that's when, you know, we start talking about authoritarianism within Marxism. is the idea is it doesn't matter if you agree. We're going to make it happen anyways. We're going to make equality happen whether you like it or not. That's when it kind of lost me. You know, I guess when I was younger, and believe me, I didn't really look into the ideas of Noam Chomsky extensively when I was a kid, just at a basic level. But I was just like, oh yeah, I'm definitely that libertarian socialist, without actually understanding what those principles meant. And then when I got older, you just start to realize that capitalism wasn't really the boogeyman that you thought it was. And yeah, and that's why I'm not a Marxist. It just never makes sense. I feel like I'm a little bit of a maybe democratic socialist, maybe, but I typically just go by liberal, just because it's more accurate. I feel like it's not necessarily clear cut, and I think most people acknowledge that. Well, some people acknowledge that. I would definitely not call myself a moderate, but I wouldn't call myself a hardcore Corbynite socialist either. But yeah, just kind of want to give you guys a shot of Leavenworth. It's a beautiful town, and you know, I kind of wanted to segue into something that might be a little bit more controversial, and I basically wanted to discuss why I don't really consider myself a feminist, and that one will be a little bit more nuanced. But I hope everybody's having a great day. Before I go out, I'll let you guys enjoy this a little bit. What a beautiful freaking town. You don't even need all this German stuff. What a setting. Alright, well, have a great day, guys. Tim Huggins out.